Season 4 of my F1 2020 My Team career mode is soon upon us, but my word, was it a busy winter for us as a team.
Breaking news this hour in Formula One. Let's bring you more on this. Craig Slater joins us now.
They need a buyer. I understand. In effect, the team's wages, both the race team and the 400 plus staff at the factory in Silverstone, will have their wages paid next week when they are due, effectively by funds provided by an investor rather than a buyer of the team. I've been on the phone to the administrators, Jeff Rowley's FRP advisory, in the last few minutes, and they've told me this, that they're still assessing their options, but that they have already engaged with both creditors and investors. Now that makes this feel almost like a planned administration, that people knew it was going to happen and that they've been waiting in the wings ready to take action. He's also told me that they don't have a defined schedule yet for when they need this situation resolved, which is positive in a sense because it means the team have funds to carry on trading and carry on competing.
Following such a competitive Season 3 and ultimately winning out finally the Drivers' Championship and our second Constructors' Championship in a row as well for the team, things were looking great going into winter. The team was excited. We were ready for a brand new season with a striking new car. But sadly, over this winter period, some huge failings with securing sponsorship for the next season, overrunning budgets and overspending last season to secure the titles meant that we've had to close the lights and close the doors on most of our HQ facilities. So we find ourselves in a very unprecedented time in between Season 3 to Season 4. Carl has sent us over an email with the subject line of bankruptcy. Morning, so by now you should already be aware of the situation the team finds itself in. Administrators have found us investors to pay the staff's wages and keep the essential bits of the HQ afloat. But going into this new season, we have had to shut down all R&D facilities and currently we have $0 in funds. Due to the bad press the bankruptcy has generated, we are also back to square one with the team's acclaim level at level 1 again. And it's now down to hard work to pull this all back and get the team back profitable and to where it should be at the front. Of course, we are the reigning world champions going into this. I'm the reigning drivers world champion going into this one, but now our team faces the toughest challenge we have faced yet, really, ever since the start of this career mode. Carl goes on to say, before everything went south, we did manage to adapt some of the aerodynamics, but we are still some way off now, the entire grid heading into this new season. The new investors have managed to strike a deal with a driver. Take a look at the contracts tab to find out who they've secured. Finally, the FI have decided to shorten the calendar to 16 rounds in light of not only the reigning world champions, us, struggling with the financial climate, but also teams such as Mercedes, who reported huge losses following their dismal season last year. So it is a very, very different times going into Season 4. We are bankrupt. We've got zero funds in the bank. We're acclaim level 1 again. And apparently we go into this next season with a shortened 16-race calendar to try and save money for every team in F1. It's certainly going to be a very different look on this My Team career mode going forwards. But you know what? Just like every single F1 team has done in the past and will do so in the future, we pick ourselves back up in adversity and we just go again. Everything's reset. Everything's square one, zero. We've got to play some catch up now, but it's time to just get our heads down. We've got a totally new challenge that's completely different to anything we faced before, and I'm raring to go for this new Season 4. And so without further ado, it's time to launch our car. However worse it might be than last season's, it's still always an exciting time to launch the car. It may just look quite different though, without all those sponsors and acclaim levels to help us out on the marketing side. So there is our new challenger for Season 4 of this F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, the fully blacked out stealth livery, I'm going to call it, with a neon lime green that we've always had from the start, but now a lot less white, a lot more black, but you can see very plain indeed. No title sponsors, no main sponsors, no secondary sponsors. The only things we have are the Renault engine badges, our team logos, and Veloci Esports logos. And even with Renault, they've scaled back their sponsorship. They used to have their logos everywhere around the car. Now it's the mere kind of bog standard engine cover and nose cone, as they also strip back their affiliations. It is a serious dent to how marketable and how, desirable you are when you're knocked back down to acclaim level 1 in F1 as a top team. So we've got a lot of work to do to build back those relationships, try and earn back some sponsorship, and try and get enough money to, one, open back some facilities later on this season, but potentially also just re-signing whoever our investors have got. I don't know who our investors have signed yet. We're going to find out in a little bit when we go to the contracts tab, but whoever they are, they're going to cost some money, and right now we don't have anything, and we're going to be earning pennies at the moment with no real sponsors to help us out. There'll be no bonus payments and whatnot in the first few races, so it is going to be, really quite a challenge actually to hold this team together with the kind of, what we've got to work with essentially. And that's before we even get to assessing what the damage is in terms of how bad our car potentially is going to be, having not adapted all the aerodynamic parts we may have wanted to. We go into this season with a fresh livery, with a fresh helmet design for myself as well. We've gone for an all-white kind of throwback to, I was running this helmet quite a few times in the 2019 career modes and also 2018. I always really liked it, to be fair. The nice white on black, just very simple but effective as well. And we've got a nice little 1 star on either side to denote the Drivers' Championship we have earned last season. Whether we can even discuss going for that again this season, I don't really know. This is going to be a challenge. Don't get it wrong. It's going to be a real challenge because every facility right now is shut down. We can probably look to open 1 or 2 just before Australia when we get our first weekly payment, but that weekly payment is so much less now because we don't have any sponsors. The claim level is 1, so all the sponsors are locked off. Once again, we have to re-earn them, and at the moment, we've got this new car, which, to be fair, I really do like, actually, the kind of, stealth livery, as I called it earlier, but, it's looking rather sad at the moment with all the facilities shut, no one working on the car, and the car won't be getting any better until we can earn enough money to open back up some of these facilities and slowly make our way back to where we are meant to be. But at the moment, this is where we are. Team balance is 0. And as it stands, obviously, all the departments cost about 50k at least minimum to run each time, and so we've got 0 coming. We've got 0 right now, and we've only got about 230k maybe coming in default from our main sponsor, so that we've got right now from investors. So it's a tricky situation, and then, like I said, with the car. Well, here we are then. This is what the team managed to scramble together before we went into administration and had to shut everything down. They saved a few downforce upgrades, only 1 minor drag reduction update. To be too fair, in a straight line, our car was never really an issue. Engine power rise, we're still 3rd place on the grid, but look at that. Over the winter, AlphaTauri have become the 2nd powerfulest team in Formula 1 engine-wise. So that's a very big shock for me personally to see there. So we might see AlphaTauri doing much better this season. Chassis-wise, we should still be very good. Right up there. Racing points, surprisingly the highest now over the winter. Mercedes and Ferrari and Red Bull right behind us. But Aero, we are the worst on the grid. No two ways about it. And the thing is, it's one of the worst combinations. We've got, basically, we're going to have too much power, and the car is going to be so lightweight that it won't have enough downforce to handle all that power and lightweightness in the corners. So it's going to be, I imagine, a real dog once we get to Australia and the first episode of Season 4. But now it's time for the final piece of the jigsaw puzzle here for our team and this pre-season setup, because Carl emailed us and told us that our investors also found us a driver, because of course Verstappen left us. We were looking to sign someone, an exciting prospect maybe, or even we were going to maybe go for Lewis Hamilton, as some of you guys maybe wanted us to go for. But obviously that all went down the toilet when everything went south for us as a team. So the investors have found us a teammate. It's time to find out who they actually managed to sign. Ah. Of course. Of course. 98 rated Pierre Gasly has signed for us and is replacing an outgoing Max Verstappen. Season 4 just got a lot more interesting. So here's the driver market lowdown. Then actually without the personnel upgrades, Gasly's actually base level 85 there with the training. But you can see here, Max Verstappen has actually gone directly the other way. And Verstappen, funny enough now, is at AlphaTauri, 93 rated Verstappen. He's alongside Sergio Perez. But remember, we just saw before, AlphaTauri have upgraded a lot in the winter. They're now the second best team engine-wise, so they could actually be a force to reckon with. Verstappen and Perez, that's a very tasty lineup, to be fair. And if the car's as good as it could potentially be to look like, you know, they might be a force to be reckoned with. But of course, you know, clearly Red Bull pissed off with Verstappen, you know, basically leaving them, abandoning them at the end of Season 2 to join us, to help us win the championship. And so they've not exactly opened him back into the Red Bull family with open arms. So they've just, you know, stuck him in the actual seat that was left vacant by Gasly coming to us. So you've got Carlos Sainz and Daniel Ricciardo in still the more senior Red Bull team. If that changes midway through this season, who knows? You know, if one of those guys isn't performing as well as they want them to, then maybe we could see a bit of a musical chair merry-go-round with Verstappen or even Sergio Perez going up to the top team. But I suspect Verstappen will be pushing for that move unless he feels like AlphaTauri is a good spot. Like I said, there could be a dark horse, as we saw potentially at times McLaren and Renault were last season. And also, I want to note out here, the vacant spot by Romain Grosjean retiring out of Formula 1 means that a new man has been signed to the Haas F1 team in the form of Mick Schumacher, which is very, very nice to see. That our very first teammate in this career mode that I signed all those episodes ago is now back in F1, full-time swing at Haas. That's a great place for him to be, because I suspect that's a very nice place to just bide his time to potentially the moment where Ferrari might want to sign him and swap him out with Giovinazzi, or even Leclerc if Leclerc ends up moving somewhere in the future. Who knows? But we've got a very exciting move and prospect in that kind of way. But very, you know, interesting times with that whole Red Bull scenario. Sainz, Ricciardo, and Verstappen in the same pool under the Red Bull umbrella, but Verstappen now, ironically, is the one in the quote-unquote junior team. But let's see. Let's have a gander at the R&D chart. You can see how much we've taken a hit from the lofty heights we were at. Mercedes apparently have stayed put on paper as the best team, but we saw how much bad luck and reliability issues they had last season. Remains to be seen if that's going to be the same way again in Season 4, but Hamilton is not retired out of Formula 1. He's still here, so he's maybe going to want to try and prove himself and prove that he can do a lot better than scoring just a measly, 12 or 13 points over the entirety of Season 3. Ferrari apparently have stayed put there. Red Bull have improved significantly, so maybe that's the final piece in the puzzle for them to actually have a sustained title challenge. McLaren, Racing Point, Renault sort of just kind of in the midfield apparently, but we saw plenty of times last season that the individual AI drivers of the likes of Lando Norris and Kvyat were really pulling that Renault and McLaren up the order. But for us, we're now in company with Alfa Romeo, AlphaTauri, Haas, Williams, and to be fair, with the imbalance of our car, there is a good chance that certain circuits we are actually literally fighting Haas and Williams, depending on how bad it is. You know, the higher downforce circuits, we've not got our aero facilities back up and running and upgrading the car by then. We are going to have some real pain because the car is just going to be way too quick to handle into all those high downforce corners. But that's obviously the challenge we are faced with and the one we have to take on head on. So that's most of the admin and overlook of the whole pre-season before Season 4 kicks off tomorrow at the Australian Grand Prix with that video. But before we get to the Australian Grand Prix, we have earned at least 1 week of income there, $218K to be exact. So that is enough money to restart some facilities. We're going to go for personnel and marketing, which sounds odd, but hear me out. Personnel-wise, we unlock that, and Pierre Gasly, our teammate, let's put everything aside. We want him to be as good as as he can be to help us out, because both of us need to score as high as we can to get those positions, to get more acclaim level, to get sponsors back on the car. So personnel, upgrade, spec 3, open that back up, open back up marketing as well. So the personnel is going to mean that Gasly is now once again like a 95, 96 rated driver alongside us to help us out. And then the marketing side, that means in between the race weekends, those activities that we do on the timeline, and also in just general how much acclaim level we get boosted every single race for a whole team, that's going to really help out to try and get us back all those sponsors, because in the end of it, there's no use opening up the aerodynamics facilities if we can't afford to do it for a long time and a sustained period where we can see the upgrades actually come onto the car. So really, my thinking and strategy is to get us out of this hole is earning as much money and as much acclaim level as we can as quickly as possible, and then looking to open up aerodynamics, improve that as quickly as we can, and then the last things we'll open up are the engine, chassis, and durability, because those three, they're pretty much sorted. We are near enough at the top. Obviously, if you don't move forwards, you're moving backwards in F1, but we need to take care of the aerodynamics, because that is in a woeful state, basically. So that's my game plan and the way I think we should go about it. But of course, you guys are my board of directors, so if you have any suggestions and strategies of your own thinking, how do you reckon you might tackle this sort of challenge if you guys have this in your career mode? Let me know in the comments below. But yeah, it was a very, very good season for us last season. You know, Drivers' Championship, Constructors, 4 wins. I don't know, many, many podiums. I honestly, honestly can't tell you how many podiums we might get this season, or even if we're able to get it, because we are so far off in aero terms. So I just don't actually know the extent of the challenge we have. But that's why it's going to be so exciting to get stuck into it tomorrow for this Australian Grand Prix episode and just see what we've got to work with. So to that effect, if you did enjoy this pre-season video and enjoyed the start and foundation of what should be a very exciting 16-race calendar Season 4, then smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you aren't around here, then do get subscribed for the beginning of that season tomorrow. Till then, guys, hope you enjoy the rest of the day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.